What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about the review scores for Silent Hill 2's remake. We finally got it. The day has arrived, and you're seeing a lot of talk about like Bloober team has pulled it off, right? I think there's one more step. I think it's the full-on release, right? It's how the audience and the consumers actually rally or don't rally behind this game and behind the effort, but everything's been going in the right direction, and you like to see it. I like to see it. I like an underdog story, and to be honest with you, that's what this is. I really believe that Bloober team, a lot of us had the same kind of opinion on them leading in. I was more optimistic than most actually early on with this game, but so far so good. Right now it is sitting in 87 on Metacritic. I think my prediction a few days ago when I said it, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was 82 to an 84. Like, I thought it would get low, maybe mid 80s at best. I mean, it's somewhat around mid 80, but a little bit higher than that. But it's great, 87. So, okay, now for me, and I've said this before, it's more about what is said than the score. There's really no difference between 87 or an 86 or an 88 or an 85. To me, it's about what's actually being said. Now, you scroll through and you start to notice a trend. So in order to get an 87, you have to have a lot of higher scores, right? That's pretty obvious. Plenty of 10s, like a good handful of 10s. I would say 9. 9 is kind of where it's at. I feel like there's about 15, maybe even more that are 9s, a lot of high 8s. And what actually brings this thing down, I would say, there's only a couple that bring it down. It got 1 6 and it got 4 7s. And those are the lowest scores out of them all. Got 175, and then the rest are just all 8s, including some of the bigger ones. IGN gave it an 8, Video Games Chronicle, Screen Rant, Digital Trends, so on, so on, so on. But then you get back into the 9s with GameSpot, Push Square, and others. So, okay, in terms of the score, there you go. In terms of what is being said, right, that is the more important thing to me. So, over and over again in these reviews, you see a lot of talk of playing it safe in a good way, and that's what I like to hear, okay? In fact, if a review has complained about it playing it safe, immediately I kind of discard it, right? Because it's like, playing it safe to me means that they're respecting the original, okay? So if you call that playing it safe, which some people do that, right? For me, it's like, okay, you're just respecting, where it came from. I hope games play it safe, unless you're purposely trying to not, right? Final Fantasy VII, they are clearly trying to do different things. They're very open about that. They're not trying to hide it. But for a game like this, you expect the original, but you expect it modernized, and modernized as in the controls, modernized in terms of the visuals, right? The performance. If that is called playing it safe, is, taking your chance here and there, but generally sticking to the original game, that's fine. In fact, that's what I want this game to be. So I do just want to throw that out there because you see that in a lot of these. In fact, what I just said is kind of, for me, the general theme I've seen, especially in the 10s and the 9s that I was reading, is the game knows when to play it safe, and generally the whole game is very respectful of the original, and it does pick its moments, and it picks it well. The controls are better. I did see some of the lower scores. They still didn't like the combat, which is fine. Like, I still have to see. Like, for me personally, the combat was never great. It's purposely like that, but it's also, you can purposely be not good because of James and trying to, like, embody that character, but you can still think the combat is not the strong suit, or is not the strongest part of the original Silent Hill 2. So that was one thing. I mean, again, the higher scores, it was kind of just, well, it was actually everything. Everything was just good. And you saw people talking about, like, the combat is definitely better. The combat is definitely better. I saw a couple of talks even about the boss fights being better, which is also good. We talked about that a few days ago, right? The boss fights, they can use some uplifting, and I don't even think it would be all that difficult, to be honest with you. There were a couple, maybe one of those low scores, I don't know if it was, I think it was one of the 7s, almost sounded like it was going after just the original Silent Hill 2. See, that's another thing when it comes to all of these scores, that it's like, you take it or leave it depending on the kind of person that you are. Like, if you're here right now, you probably like Silent Hill 2. And I don't know, like, for me personally, again, it's like, Silent Hill 2 is a really, really great game, an amazing game, but it's not a perfect game, and it has flaws, and those flaws could be improved upon. So can you do that, in this one? So yeah, I'm not not saying it's a perfect game, but it's a really, really good game, and there's a reason why it's being remade in the first place, right? So I don't know, to give this a 7 or a 6 or whatever, I think it was one of the 7s, to give it that score because you weren't the biggest fan of the original, so like the base. I mean, yeah, I guess that's fine because you're still judging it on itself, but I think a lot of us just like it and we just want to see it again modernized, and that's what it seems like it is, right? It sounds like the tone, the atmosphere, the visuals. I saw talk about the performance. Everything just seems good or better than good is kind of the baseline. It seems like it's better than good. So I don't know, that redemption story, the underdog story of Bloober team, it really does seem like it's happening. But I don't want to jump the gun because I see a lot of that, and for me, I'm glad to see these high scores. It's honestly quite surprising because, again, I thought I would get in the low 8s instead of the high 8s. But there's one more part to it, and it's me. It's us. You guys have to play the game and come up with your own opinion on it. I have to do the same thing. It's great to see other people liking it. And again, I take more away from the reviews, what is said versus the number. I could care less about the actual number. So going into next week, I'll be playing it. I'll give you guys my review. We'll have a bunch of videos on it. Thank you for all the support for all of these Silent Hill videos. We're not done yet. Again, there'll be videos of me covering it once I get my hands on it next week. Let me know what you think. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.